Oh, this one.
It's 4 o'clock. It's Wednesday, November 19th, and this is the Palm Springs Airport Commission meeting. I'd like to call this in order. Todd, I'm going to ask you to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would.
I will. I'm going to search for a flag.
We have a flag on the screen.
A flag on the screen. All right. Here we go. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Todd. Todd has the agenda to post.
Yes, the agenda was
Do a roll call, please.
Bain,
Yes, here.
Burke,
here.
Caldwell is marked as absent. Corcoran,
Here.
Delgado. Let me check on Zoom. Let me just verify. Delgado, are you on? You might be muted. Okay. Delgado, and then Evansteiner,
Here.
Fong,
Here.
Hedrick,
Here.
Peel,
Here.
Martin,
Here.
McDermott, here, Park, here, Sam Laska,
Here.
Shuffler,
Here.
Valdez,
Here.
Wiseman. Wiseman, are you on Zoom? Your mic is also muted, it looks like. He is on Zoom, but I'm not sure why he's not able to speak right now. And then Wise,
Here.
Young,
Here.
thank you, we have a forum.
Thank you. I have a motion, please, to accept our agenda for today.
Move.
Second, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a roll call on our agenda today.
We have a Bain,
Yes, here.
Burke,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Delgado, are you able to get on? Evansteiner,
Yes.
Fong,
Aye.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
McDermott. Yes. Park, Sam Laska,
Yes.
Shuffler,
Yes.
Valdez,
Yes.
thank you. Boss,
Yes.
Wiseman. Wise,
Yes.
and Young.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Do you have any public comments to be made? Just general public comments?
There's no scheduled public comments. Anybody on Zoom wish to make a public comment? Please raise your virtual hand. Anyone in the room? Oh, yes.
It's like a quick comment. I'm Claude Peck. I live at the St. Jude condominiums and
And your name, I'm sorry, sir?
my name is Claude Peck.
Oh, thank you.
I live at St. Jude condominiums at Wexler condominium development. It's right under the flight path. So I'm just here to say that I hope the environmental review is underway and then we see a draft and then we get some good concrete information about noise and pollution levels because it's a big concern for people who live right underneath the takeoff path of the airport.
Thank you for your comment.
Thanks, Claude. Appreciate your comment. All right, any other public comments? Going once, going twice.
We do have one, it looks like Kevin. Let's see. There, Kevin? Were you able to? Oh,
No.
thanks, Kevin. Now we're good to go. No public
Okay, good. All right, we're gonna look at the minutes of our October 15th meeting. I need a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. Finally.
Commissioners Bain,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Delgado, I'm gonna check this one more time. And Evansteiner,
Yes.
Fong,
Aye.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Beal,
Aye.
Martin, McDermott. Yes. Park. Yes. Sam Laska,
Yes.
Shuffler,
Yes.
Valdez,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
and Young.
Yes.
The minutes are approved. Thank you all. Our discussion starts with Daniel, marketing update. Daniel, please.
Good evening, everyone.
So starting off the air service update, October passenger numbers, I do have a revision to those. So for the airline report for essentially, so I thought we had discrepancy. And I'm glad to catch on one airline failed to report for their passenger numbers. So instead of being down 3.5%, we're down 0.26%. So we just bashing by 677 total passengers. So still down, but not terribly down. So we also have. And still for 2025 year to date, the tracking almost close to over 3.6% ahead of our previous year. So we're looking good to finish off the year. Canadian passenger counts, we'll fill out the August and September numbers from the last two commission meetings. Out of the October numbers here, October is down 29.8% in arriving Canadian passengers and down 12% in arriving Canadian seats for the month of October. Looking at the 2025 Canadian flight seat update on slide 4, December was down, or scheduled to be down 12.25%, or just less than one flight per day. Although I will note it is still tracking ahead of December 2023 from 2 years ago, so we're looking okay there. 2026, starting out the year, January is down 5% for Canadian arrivals, and then February down 17%. But still just note also January of 26 is ahead of January of 24 from 2 years ago. And in February just is not quite matching in February 2024, but just down a little bit from that. So not too terribly bad. However, we still continue to be buoyed and raised up by our domestic capacity is growing. So 2025 finish out the year, December is up 3% for scheduled seats as of November 6th. And then looking ahead at 2026 for total seats, January is up 5.4%, February just over 2%. So overall for seat capacity, the airport's looking good to end the year and also start out the new year. Moving on to seasonal returns and new route start dates, the same chart I've been providing the last couple of commissions meetings. Only one change note on this one is that the Boise start date was moved up 1 day from a Friday to Thursday, January 8th by Alaska Airlines. So we'll be starting that one in early January. And then moving on to experience and engagement. So guest experience, we have a new guest experience feature on the Sunny Bono concourse. We're calling it the Recharge Bar. If you guys are familiar with it, it was where all the old payphones used to be and wheelchairs used to be stored by the men's restaurant in the Bono area. So now we have a bright, colorful area there for you. The wall rack you see in the photo was installed on November 5th, and in the stools you see in the photo, they have been ordered. They're scheduled to arrive the end of November, and they will be installed shortly after. Hopefully, we'll have it all done in time for the Christmas harvest. And guest experience, and we mentioned that we are doing a soft launch of the Clyde Airport in October. It is now fully launched and official. There are now no terminal-wide announcements, but I will tell you, since it is new, we're still catching a few PAs that still have the terminal-wide on there. So we'll be the baggage claim in here, something we shouldn't. So we're still tracking some of those down. So if you do hear the occasional announcement, you probably shouldn't in the right area, please let us know so we can look into it. But overall, the announcement have drastically decreased. Boarding announcements are now restricted only to their specific gate area, the gate that the flight is at, and then a couple of gates surrounding it, but not the entire airport. We're very strict with PA responses, and we need a full airport-wide PA announcement. They have to call Operations Control Center. The Operations Control Center has a list of rules and criteria that the request must meet before we do an airport-wide announcement. And the intentional soundscapes, the music has been turned off in the gate holders to make it more quiet. We've also raised it a little bit in more of the transitional areas, like the center terminal areas, so you can actually hear the music in those areas and turn it up courtyard as well. We do have a quiet zone. And so that is fully in effect, and we'll continue rolling that out and improving that experience. And then lastly, there's some community engagement. You see the photo there that we could participate in Greater Palm Springs Pride once again. We have over 30 participants that walked with us. And if you're in attendance, I hope you saw us. We handed out, I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000 items of PSP swag, sunscreen, sunglasses, and backpacks to people. So other than that, any questions?
Questions for Daniel? Please.
So I was at Monster Station, Cat City on my way over here to get my acai bowl before I came here. And a couple was there talking to, they were from Canada. So I asked them about their experience in it, and they said nothing but great things. They said, I love this airport. It's nice, flying in was easy, flying out is going, they had no cancellations. They liked the upgrades that we made. I saw there any suggestions. They said, you know what, it's just a pleasant experience. And I introduced myself, who I was, and this kind of thing, and I that kind of feedback. And I personally will just pick somebody from a crowd and ask them their experience, just kind of book that in with Desert Hot Spring stuff.
So it's really nice to have that, especially just before the meeting, you know. I think whatever we're doing, it's on the right track, because they were just like, we're really, really happy with it. They really enjoy it. It's a great experience. They could love Palm Springs and the airport go, the changes they made. They said, we've seen the changes from last year. And we like the changes that you guys have done over here, that type of thing. So that was just nice, like, late comic book feedback right there out of Monster Jig.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
Yeah,
Yeah, with, yeah, especially as our Canadian passengers, I don't know if you guys, you've been to the terminal recently. We have this big term, we put those, the Palm Springs Loves Canada banners we had earlier this year up there. We have some banners up for the IGLTA, conference to welcome them to town, and we put those down, we put the Palm Springs Loves Canada banners back up, so we know all Canadians will be coming in, just so they can all see it as well, so.
Questions or comments?
Kevin Wiseman.
yeah. Quick question for Daniel. What is defined as hold areas versus the other areas, where the hold areas where you play quiet?
Oh, the whole room, that's where the gates for the seating is, that's considered a whole room.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Others? Just kudos on the guest experience piece and the charging locations. I love seeing stuff like that. Little ideas I think make a difference. Quiet by design, have we received any feedback? Do people know the difference?
We've got some really good feedback. I know Jake, you've been tracking the comments. I know we've had airport or airline employees reach out to us that they're very happy to be working in that more quiet gate room. They don't have to scream as much to talk to passengers. You have any public comments on that?
It's one of those things that if you don't know it's there, you wouldn't notice it because it's how it should be. And that's the feedback from the people who do know it's there and are noticing it, are giving to us is this is what it should have been all along.
The only other comment is, next year for the Pride Parade or any time that the airport's represented, be great to invite the commissioners to join that. I thought you guys did a beautiful job. It looked good, well represented. But a couple of people say, oh gosh, we would have joined you if we weren't invited. So if that's protocol is cool, next year, extend the invitation to all of us. It'd be fun to be supportive. They really look great. Thank you. It was lovely. Any other comments on this before we move forward?
Anyone from the public wish to make a public comment? Anyone in the room? Anyone on Zoom, please raise your virtual Zoom hand. No public comments.
Victoria, financial update, please.
Right, good evening, commissioners. We are going to put our financials on the screen. We're gonna go through them really quickly and just look at our either surplus or our deficit. So for our customer facility charge fund, we have a surplus of $240,000. And then for our passenger facility charges, we have a surplus of about $1 million. For our Fund 415 airport operation and maintenance, you see that there's a deficit there for $510,000, but don't be alarmed by it. It's not something that is out of the norm for us. We're actually still posting revenue. So in the time that this report was done, we still needed to capture some additional revenue there. So when we go and look at the next month, we should have a better forecast of what our numbers are actually for the month of October and November. This is just a breakdown of all of our different funds. Myself and Commissioner Evanstein, did I say it correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. We were talking about some of the different items on there, and there are some drastic swings with some of the different accounts that we have here. Just one to point out would be the general aviation. You'll see that this year we had less fuel flowage fees that were reported from Atlantic Aviation. When reaching out to them, asking them what's going on, they had mentioned that the military was not utilizing as much fuel as they used last year. That's something that's outside of their control. You know, they decided they want to stop and make to fuel up or not. This year, we had some less fueling for the military aircraft at Atlantic. Another area that was just kind of a big swing is the airport use permits. This is for all kinds of permits that the airport issues out. It could be for badging, IDs, permits for a commercial vehicle. So that was drastic. when you looked at last year was about $4,000, and then, this year we're about $12,000 of revenue, primarily because, we're doing more badge audits, and we're requiring people to come in and to pay those fees for the new audit. Other items on there that look a little drastic is the non-airline terminal rental fee. The reason why it shows that we're 29% lower than last year is because we broke that out and we're now tracking food and beverage and retail separately so that we can really see what our numbers are for those two concessions revenue. So we also receive a 7% of gross sales from our commercial activity provider that are here at the airport. So that's where their fee is gonna stay inside of the terminal rent, and then we broke out food and beverage and retail. So that's why you're gonna see a little bit of a change there and nothing reported from last year. And then our advertising, you'll see that we're down 21%, and that's just a macroeconomic downturn that Hughes was seeing. It's primarily the local advertising that went down, but they are seeing some good projections for the upcoming quarter, so we should see that change for us. And then just going over our expenditures, there are some swings with, like if you look at aviation security, you'll see that there's a change of 222% when you compare it to last year. What we did this year was we made sure to move the salaries and benefits for the different departments into their correct department. So last year, we had them lumped into terminal building operations or control center. And so we've actually like moved them into their correct account. So that's why you're gonna see some changes in accounts there. When you look at the passenger boarding bridges, you see a big swing there, primarily because we're just, that is the expenses that we're doing on the boarding bridges. We're seeing that we're adding in some more cameras into the boarding bridges so that we can better monitor it. So there's just some different changes that we have this year than we did last year, so. And then the last fund that we have on the next page is our capital projects. So you're gonna see that we have a surplus there of 1.7 million for our capital projects. So this is just everything that we're working on. It could be from studies to independent fee estimates to restrooms and escalators, which is what we're gonna talk about later. So you'll see those fees in there as our expenses, and our revenues are derived from a transfer from our fund 415 into fund 416. Or we have drawdowns from our grants. So that's where we get the revenue in our capital, airport capital projects fund. And so that concludes my presentation. If anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Questions, please.
Victoria, on the financial summary, the bottom line, all other revenue, what's covered under all other revenue? What's defined?
Yeah, so that's pretty much non-aeronautical revenues that include, other revenues could include like insurance recoveries. So I know last year we had a huge insurance payout. For instance, we had the Quonset hut that had caught fire. It was about a $700,000 payout that we received last year. So that could be things like miscellaneous items that were not typically the same thing that we're reporting every single year in revenue. Other things include, like for instance, if we have like the Amex and the BMWs that come out here. For the airport, we charge for all space. So any space that we charge for, that is something that we're doing. So Amex, they would come out, they bring their vehicles, they store them here, they get them ready for the tennis tournament. So we would receive revenue like that. So things, those kind of things. Commissioner.
On the CFC revenue, it's about half of what last year was. Is that a timing issue with closing the books, or was that
Yes.
reflective of the drop in activity?
No, that is definitely a timing issue.
Other questions? Where are we with the GA study?
I actually would refer to Lowell and to Commissioner Valdez on the G8.
Is that somewhere later in our meeting? Talk about the GA study?
I don't think it's on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda, and we'll hand it off to me, just to manage Joel's workload, I'm working on grass desk, so you need to bring something.
General aviation landing fees. That's what we're talking, okay. Can we also get an update on 6, or is that a different part of our agenda?
That's in my executive.
All right, we'll hold on that. The car rental fees. Any other things on finances?
Any questions from the public? Anyone on Zoom from the public, please raise your virtual Zoom hand. No public comment.
So our commission calendar has been published. We just want to make everybody aware of that. I suppose at this point, we can also talk about our strategic planning meeting. We had to bump the date to the 16th. And everyone's been advised of that, and I'm disappointed that it's going to knock out 4 or 5 of our commissioners for doing this, but if there's any way that you can accommodate, even to zoom into that, please do. But 9 o'clock on the 16th, and we'll be in our new conference room. We all got that message? We're all good? For those who can't attend, reach out individually. We'll go through the agenda and be sure that you get all the information that's going to be covered in that meeting. If you have questions after the fact, we'll try to create an opportunity to answer those questions for you. I think with that, we're going to go ahead and lock all these dates into our calendars. But Tanya, send it along.
Yes.
Try to be on your calendars. Any questions on that or on our dates? And we're all good for the 16th.
Okay, anybody on Zoom wish to make a public comment regarding this? Anyone in the room? No public comment.
We have to vote on this?
Yes.
Oh, so I need a motion to approve the calendar. In a second, please.
Move.
Second.
Oh, thank you.
Motion to approve.
Perfect. So motion to approve the 2026 airport commission calendar, Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Evansteiner,
Yes.
Bong,
Aye.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Keel, Martin,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Park,
Yes.
Sam Lanska,
Yes.
Shuffler,
Yes.
Valdez,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
and Commissioner Delgado said she is on Zoom.
Yes,
Commissioner Delgado?
yes.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Approved.
All right. We're trying to go now to operations, properties, facilities. Kevin, are you going to take the lead on this, or Jeremy, you taking the lead?
Yeah, I can take the lead. So we had an operations properties and facilities committee meeting about a week or 2 weeks ago now, where we went over the designs for the restroom renovations that we're anticipating to get going very quickly. Gensler walked us through all of their designs, and we thought that they did an excellent job thinking through really everything you could think of that we could think of as well as a committee in terms of restroom design. And I think they're here, so I'm gonna pass it off to them so they can take you through it and show you guys around. And if you have any questions after, I imagine they'll be able to take those.
Thank you, Kevin. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm happy to walk you through the restroom refresh design for Palm Springs Airport. Let's go to the next page. So the agenda will consist of us pointing out all the restroom locations, and the ones being renovated. We'll talk about the concept for the restrooms. We'll walk you through the design of the Bono and the courtyard restrooms that we're designing, and finally wrap it up with the material boards. Yeah. So the aspirations for this design really consisted of these 6 items. The main goal is to refresh and update all the restrooms. And then in doing so, we also want to add more water closet fixtures, as well as expand the footprint of all the restrooms. And then we're also looking to add a lot of convenience and amenity features. We are adding an all-gender restroom. We're converting the courtyard to an all-gender, and then we're looking towards sustainable practices wherever possible. Next. So this is a site plan. It points out all of the 5 locations, which are the Bono concourse, the courtyard restrooms, the outdoor concourse restrooms, and the Agua Caliente cold room restrooms. The ones that we are focused on right now are the Bono concourse and the courtyard restrooms. Next. The concept for this packet, or for this design rather, is a chromatic oasis. And really what we were trying to do is take inspiration from the mid-century modern Wexler building and then carry that
design vernacular throughout the new renovation. So we're really also inspired by the desert landscapes in Palm Springs. And we really wanted to also create a blurred line between indoor and outdoor, really exemplifying what's being done really well already at Palm Springs Airport. Next. This is a material, or sorry, an inspiration board that really starts to help you visualize what the design aspiration was. And as you can see, we really pulled from mid-century modern forms and local architecture, and also from a color palette standpoint, looking at timelessness from color palette and the colors that we're using in the space. And then also some images that allude to the indoor-outdoor quality, where we want to really bring in natural daylighting and also views outside or plants wherever possible for a really calming feel. So this update really focuses on, this first section is rather on the Bonner concourse, and as I mentioned, we wanted to increase the footprint as well as the stall count. In the women's room, this first footprint shows you that we've increased the stall count by 3 here. And then we have a total of 8 lavatories as well, and a total of 16 water closets in this new layout. Next, the other nice feature, you can go back one. I think it's hard to see on this plan. On this one, another nice feature is the added nursing room that you can see in the corner. So we've relocated the entryway to the restroom. We've added drinking fountains on both men's and women's side. A couple other added features I'll just mention here are each and every stall is longer than your typical stall, so you can, and the door faces out so that you can bring luggage inside, and it's really nice and large size. We've centralized the location of the laboratories within the restroom, and as you can see, the footprint is much more expansive than before. Next. And we can go to the next men's, yeah, here we go. So I'm going to take you through some visuals. This is the outdoor view of the women's restroom from the Bonner Concourse courtyard. And as you can see, you've got a new set of water fountains there. We brought the tile outside that's, creating a much more resilient material as well. And you can see the doorway there to the nursing room at the women's restroom entry. And we're also re-articulating the signage for this experience in this location. Next. Inside, you can see the expansiveness and the fact that the centralized vanity is really nice and large and open. And then, we've really tried to increase or improve, the amenities that you're getting from everything from the partition stall system to the sink systems that you're seeing here. Next. And as far as the materials go, everything is highly resilient, and we have a hard surface on every single surface except for the ceiling, which is painted. So everything is either a tile on the wall, or we have terrazzo floors, which is very consistent with the terrazzo that you have in your current airport. And then we do glazed tiles on the wall with color. That's the elevation of the spaces. You can keep going. And this is just the men's, which is very much the same. I won't go into too much detail here. You can see that our stall count was increased here by 2 for a total of 9 urinals, 7 water closets, and 8 laboratories. Next. And then the other side is very much the same. I would point out that the amenity here is not a nursing room, it's an all gender space. So that's an added feature as well that you didn't have to do. Next. And then the men's room is very similar, and you can see that it's, it emulates exactly the same features except with the added urinals on the side here. Next. And then that takes us to the courtyard space. And right now, currently, this is a men's and women's room. But what we're doing is converting it to an all gender space. If we could go back home, please. So we have a total increase here at this location of 4 total stalls. And we've relocated the entryway into the middle. And as you can see, each and every stall is its own room within its own door. And each one has its own sink as well. The next shot. And in terms of amenities, again, this is, we've added a nice little feature in here as well, where you have a vitrine for plants, and we've added some landscaping outside. We've retained the same fits that are on the outside, the screens on the outside of the building as well. Next. So these are some views that just take you through what that looks like. So you can see here, the Vino Volo is on the left-hand side, that concession. So this is the approach from that direction. And we have, you can see the fid springs on the right-hand side that we retained from before. We've created a canopy to create a little bit of shading. And also to be consistent with the airport design, we brought in the same stone that we're going to clad on the outside of the building itself. Next, this is just a closer up view, so you can start to see the new entry being defined. And then you can start to see how the interior, exterior kind of word line, and really made an effort to, you know, add a lot of planting and soften the edges. This is the interior view. So as you can see, all of the stalls are their own independent room, and each one has their own door. We have an occupancy indicator light outside each door, so when someone comes into the space, they can easily see like if it's taken or not, with a red light when it's occupied and white when it's not. Another great feature is just that the ceiling has a clear story so that we have some natural daylight, and you can see in the distance the window outdoors to the vitrine with plants. Then inside the stall themselves, we have, this one is the accessible, so we have a little bit wider of a stall for the ADA's accessible ones, and each and every one gets their own sink, top sink with their own trash receptacle, mirror, and a little bit of counter space. And then the next one is your standard stall. So it's a little bit narrower of a sink, but exactly the same amenities. You can also see that the colors kind of vary between courtyard and Bano in terms of just adding a little bit of detail or feel different between the two. And then the next one is the section. So you can start to see the clear story and just the breakdown of the space from the section. And then next, this is the pallet board. So again, I think we have been very cognizant to carry finishes throughout the space that are highly durable and can sort of stand the test of time, can be maintainable for a long time, and also just uphold, I think, the character of the space and be very timeless in general, just from an aesthetic point of view. And then we have a very, you know, a balance between warm finishes and woods that start to define certain architectural elements, as you saw in the views. And then we also have some color tiles that are able to help bring a little bit of unique character to each restroom with a difference in color as well. And then in the lower corner is a highlight of just the type of sink systems that we're looking at using, where we have everything sort of consolidated in a trough sink location. Yeah, there. Sorry. The last page here just shows you what it's a stall that we're looking at using, and this one actually also has an indicator light in the bottom concourse, so both locations will have that ability to see at a glance if anyone's in there. We are looking again at like just upgrading the stall partition system that you currently have to this, which is a lot better, a lot more durable, also aesthetically better. So I think this is also, you know, just a nice amenity to have that will upgrade your restrooms. And that's it. Thank you very much, and I'm open for questions.
Question, I see on this page, it says 200 and,
Oh,
I don't
please
have my
disregard.
glasses.
I don't think that price is not relevant to this. I'm really sorry that was not supposed to be on there.
right.
Disregard that price. Yeah.
Thank you. So
Um,
what is the estimate cost per square foot to do this?
Did you have a price?
So we had early pricing when we did the basis of design last year. We don't have an updated cost yet for this. We are engaging with a cost estimator to give us a cost based on the schematic design, and I'll get that back to you. So you can have that.
Can you give me a range?
No, give you a while. Yes, I'm so sorry. We'll wait for our professional to get a cost to you.
So what's the timing of doing?
So I don't know if you want to just do that, but we're actually at 60% design right now, so we still have a few detailed things and estimatory work to finish up. I'm not sure if we have context for how long that piece is gonna take to get done. So
Sure, so our next stage, so 60% schematic design development is where we're at now. We build construction documents, about a month and a half. Then we have to bid the project, go through plan check as well before bidding. And then construction is estimated to be next spring. That we will, if everything aligns perfectly for us, and everything's in conformance. So our design work will be done. implementing second quarter of next year. And then we'll go into construction for the end of the year, and then it's about a year of construction, I believe, overall for this process. So it goes into 2027 is when these will be completed.
And that's with the caveat that the front end lines up there, so there would be safe to ensure that not only do the cost estimates come in on budget, we are able to line up either grant funding, PSC funding, or revenues, right?
So do we have a budget for these 3 bathrooms? Is there, or is that still
Yeah, we
being
have a
developed?
order of magnitude budget.
And how much is that for the 3?
It's somewhere in the $15 million range. Yeah,
So 5 million about,
for the whole complex.
so the 2 that are down the complex. So 3 million for that.
Rick? I'm sorry, Rick.
This might be for Commissioner Wiseman. Why is the restrooms between ticketing and baggage claim not included in this?
Oh, we put baggage, oh, yeah. So when we started this project, the challenge we were running into where we were selling grant funds for it, federal grant funds. And we were struggling with the historic piece of the rest of the fund with the FAA. So because we were having so many challenges around that discussion, we moved that piece. And now we're still looking at grant funding, but not as much as PSC integration.
What's their issue?
The issue was that they were worried about the environmental component and potential segmentation of projects. Because at the time, we're also going through environmental for that on batch handling system and batch time.
1 year to construct these bathrooms, is that realistic? I mean, I'm sure that's realistic, but I mean, is there any way we can install bathrooms faster than that?
That's gonna be dependent on the infrastructure that currently exists in Port Industry. So the sewer, the water lines, the electricity, those are areas we haven't had the opportunity to.
And we'll be doing them in phases as well, and we have to set up temporary restrooms to accommodate when we close down the restrooms. And temporary restrooms will be open for the life of construction. We're probably gonna do, I want to presuppose right now that probably the auto concourse first, and then the court guard for the restrooms second. So that whole duration just takes it around.
Sam?
Harry, does that timeline, and I hate to put you on the spot, and we get the question for you guys, but the rough timeline that you're putting out there right now, does that take into account some of the issues that we had with some of the concession build out, where the timeline was kind of pushed due to unforeseen things, you know, when you're on walls?
So I think it's a little bit easier with the restrooms.
Okay.
We have to really bit clearer picture on those than we did the concessions program. There's still a lot of unknowns that we don't know until we start thinking of things.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that we talked about in the operations committee, one of the commissioners brought up that the restrooms there up in the Bono concourse tend to get stuffy, especially in the summer. And so we asked the team if there was consideration being done to enhancing the air conditioning and venting systems inside. And I imagine that's, you know, one of the parts of the project that may add a little unexpected time. I don't know if you have any perspective on that from the Gensler team.
It's part of our design process right now. It's not going to extend us to make that consideration. We're working on that with our mechanical engineering at the moment. So it's part of our process. When we go through the construction document phase, that will be included in the work that we do.
So right now, the stalls go to the ceiling, correct?
In the courtyard, they go to, well, like the ceiling in the all gender. In the Bono concourses, there are still partitions that don't go fully to the ceiling.
Are you speaking of our new design or current?
The new design.
The new design, yes.
So you have to have vents in each stall.
That's correct. In the courtyard, that is required, correct? You would need MEP and vents in each one, but not in the Bono because they are.
Please.
What was the thinking on putting sinks in every one of those stalls? Isn't it more cost effective to have central sinks and just have stalls in the all gender room? And maybe more stalls because you don't have so many sinks in each stall?
It's a higher level of service. We really wanted to enforce the nature that these restrooms can be used by anybody, and take care of everything that might need those in that restroom. And I think it's just a higher level of service. We're really trying to improve all of the amenities in this project, so.
That's a great answer. I think the higher level of safety and security and just feeling, that you have everything you need there. It's just more inclusive because I think it appeals to everyone, all ages, all genders, to have more of a single stall as opposed to a shared. We did explore that as an option, and collectively the sort of, direction was to go towards more of a singular, all in one.
Did you quantify how much incremental this aesthetic costs versus not doing it? Or is that not something you
But it's
thought about?
that much of a difference going with a sink system in one location as opposed to just having it separated, because it's per, like, sinks are just priced per sink anyway, so it's really collective times, it's a multiplier of how many sinks we have. If we had a collective, like, one location and put the toilets separately, you would still need a separate room for the toilet, and you still have the same number of sinks, it would just be a different location. So the cost is probably pretty much.
Well, no, you wouldn't have as many sinks. You don't need a sink per stall.
True, that's true.
If you have a
less sinks,
centralized
that's very
sink
true.
area,
That's a
right?
good point.
And I think you guys did a great job on this. They're beautiful. I mean, I think that'll be great. I still struggle with the cost. That's estimate for this. I mean, to go out to the public and say we're spending $3 million per restroom, to me, does not sound like we're being good fiduciaries of airport money. Is this a conversation that the commission will have again at some point, or the staff have again, or are we on autopilot and it's just, we're running with it?
It's definitely not our pilot, so at the point where we start relying on funding, that'll be a conversation of the commission. I will say that $3 million per restroom for these types of restrooms is kind of on the low end. So they typically are a little more pricey in Germany, as last airport was that.
Yeah, my last airport we did, it was about $1 million for men's and $1 million for women's, and that was only 3 stalls. And that was a complete gut, just like we're doing now. The costs are well, for what they are for construction, especially when you're having to redo the sewer pipe.
The cost is a function of the amenities that you provide.
A little bit, yeah.
Right, so have we value engineered this thing, or are we just saying we want this to be as beautiful as it can be? And we're gonna find the money to make it happen. I struggle with the price tag.
Just a little color commentary on this. We've received a lot of support or maybe direction from council on the all gender bathrooms. Having them in our airport for all the reasons you can imagine is really important to council. So early conversations we've had with them about, our moving forward with this project. That was, of all the comments, that was the clear comment that came back, is we really want to make sure you do this and do them well. So I hear and respect what you're saying about, the cost of this thing. But I think that there's other factors that we're getting in terms of council input on this, which may lean towards the design as it is now. But you did say that when we get to that point, when we look at the actual numbers, we can revisit this comment. We should do that. Sure, please.
Yeah, I think the point is about, making sure we keep an eye on the money. But actually, I was thinking that the idea of having a sink in each stall in the all gender section is really inspiring. And I say that because in Europe and Japan, they're very accustomed to going into a bathroom where there may be a woman or a man or somebody using the bathroom that is not your gender. And it sounds silly to say it, but there are an awful lot of people, I suspect, in this country, who even if you're doing your business in the bathroom, coming out, it sounds stupid, but coming out and washing your hands next to somebody who is not your gender, especially depending on the age of the person, might feel a little off-putting. It sounds oversensitive to say that, but even when I go to Europe, and I walk into a bathroom and there's a woman there, I'm like, I have to stop. And so the idea that there's a a sink in each one, although I'm not even sure that it's higher customer service as it is a question of comfort level for people who use it. I mean, I think it's a discussion we can have, and I respect what you said. But at least I think for me, unless you're more accustomed to seeing that, it may be something that people will say, well, don't go over there, go up into the Bono terminal, because these over here, God knows who you're gonna run into at the sink. So I'm wondering whether that might be a better choice. Second comment, and that has to do with the all gender bathroom. I noticed the way you designed it. You've got a large sign on the outside that indicates both men and women. And I would encourage you to, when I say make it clearer, the way it looks from your sketch. Okay, you see the sign that says both male and female, then you walk down this short corridor, and then there's bathrooms on the left and on the right. And again, I'll say it, I think there are many people who might use this particular airport who are gonna go, oh, the sign out there says men on the left and the women were on the right. So all the men are gonna turn to the left, all the women are gonna turn to the right and use up the bathrooms there. So I'm wondering, and I don't know, I have no solution to this, but how you could make sure that either at the entryway or somewhere that it's clearer that all genders on both sides. Because it may not matter much when you look at a sign like this, but when you gotta go and you're standing there going, which way do I turn? We could have disaster.
We've actually evolved the signage a little bit since this package even, and that came up as well. And in doing so, we are still exploring it, but we're not at that final decision making, what that sign looks like. But at this point, we did decide to make the sign above say all gender and just direct instead of saying restroom, because I think we agree with you that it needs to be more clear that you can go in there no matter what you are, what gender you are. And there are other sign types we are looking into. Sometimes they have like a little icon of a toilet with a handicapped person. And then there's other versions of like trying to indicate from a pictogram standpoint that this is a universal restroom. So that is definitely something we are exploring. We can share at a later time once we've resolved and if explored it further, we are taking that into account. Thank you.
Commissioner,
Go ahead.
As a follow-up to Commissioner Pong's comments and really fine. I was also thinking about the need for, since this is like the first restroom area that gets encountered for someone entering the airport or landing, possibly. There could also be a map or wayfinding, so if someone is looking for a different option. Maybe they're looking for a gender, all gender restroom, or maybe they're looking, they see the signs, they know I need something different to take my children. I'm assuming you're gonna have that part of your signage and maps and wayfinding
Yeah,
considerations.
Yeah, just we'll be working with the airport to make sure that they have their guides to make sure that the all gender restrooms are highlighted in that. And I'm trying to think of other things to do that to enforce it throughout the airport. Why I probably would sign that or address that issue to make it more so that people understand where the restrooms are at, if there are the opportunities that we're providing. That's a great question. So we should take that aside and make sure we address it.
Very well lined, then, Tidra, please.
Commissioner Valdez?
Along the lines with the all gender bathrooms, is you have occupancy light is white and for occupied is red. I would switch that white to a green because green means go and red means stop. So
the reason, yes, I can address that. The reason it's not green is because it has been proven that some people are colorblind and they can't necessarily see the color green. So it's generally been adopting white as a color just to indicate that it's not in use because of that reason. I know at some point, I think someone on your commission also brought up last few weeks ago that maybe instead of red, it could also be blue and we can explore colors. And since they are LEDs, we can certainly test out which ones feel best in the restrooms for this location. So, but yes, that's the reason why it's not. free.
Or you could do like on an airplane, if you're ever in an airplane and you can see the occupancy light for the airplane down the aisle, it's a picture as opposed to just a light. So that might be better. I don't know.
Good pickup. Sure.
So I like this. I like the idea of how these are. I'm not overly concerned necessarily about some of the expense factor of having the separate aspect. I've been to different restaurants, nightclubs, what have you, where it's had the sink out in the front. And, friends of mine with wives and whatever felt very uncomfortable who was next to them. Maybe somebody has something in their eye and they want to spend some time with it. You can't really do that with people by you and that. But the other part is with this, and the thing is to remember is that our visitor base is not only from Canada and Mexico and whatever, but from every other state in the nation too. So everyone has a little bit of a different value system or expectation system as well. And so we have to think that we're not just Palm Springs. But what I do like about the one room and somebody mentioned kids around here. So I envision this being a lot of families using this. Unless there's a lot of line, like in the men's line, then I'm gonna hop skip over this one because there's usually not a long line. Learn that at halftime at a football game, you'll know that's the hot trick to use. But the Thompson Hotel, when I was there recently for some event or whatever, in their bathroom, it was the coolest thing. So you had like the water faucet, you had the soap dispenser, and right next to it, they had the air hand dryer. And all three looked the same. It wasn't one of the metal boxes. It was like right next to it. And as I'm looking at this, as I'm looking at the paper towel thing, and I'm suspecting we're gonna have a lot more families in this, is that we're gonna be cleaning out a lot of the paper towels, more so than other restrooms, right? So maybe, so we're not going through that, this might be the one to try out add a third prong if that manufacturer makes it, or you just do it and then you blow dry your hand, you do your thing. So we're not expected to provide all the towels for all the family and people that have to clean up after themselves. I'm not envisioning that in the other ones as much, but this one, I could see this as a room. Hey, let's take your kid, let's change your diapers. And oh, they got a stack of towels I can use to clean up too. And for that kind of thing. Otherwise, we're Desert Hot Springs. We just recently replaced a park, Warden Park, a restroom over there, and it was like $700,000. Unfortunately, when you're looking at lead, asbestos abatement, and the other type of abatements that are required, because we don't really know what's behind the wall on some of these things, including the sewer and what have you. But I expect these numbers to either fluctuate up or fluctuate down with that. And so you have to mitigate all that properly, which that in itself could be literally 20-25% of the total cost, just asbestos removal, which given the age of this airport, I know we have that. And then when you're including lead and stuff, so, it's sometimes being penny wise, pound foolish is what we can be, and let's not be that. Again, just as I experienced today with that conversation with that couple, is their faces were glowing of their experience with Palm Springs Airport. And if that's the case, so we spend a little bit more, all right, but guess what? What do we just have over here? We talked about, the experience of the airport and what we're doing, right? I'd rather be remembered as like, that's the cool place to go. That's the place to go. So people are gonna wanna keep coming to that. They're gonna pick this as their first option versus others. But the only suggestion I would have is just for the gender all, not the other ones, is to consider, see if there's much of a cost difference or whatever for that kind of a hand dryer. Because I just envision seeing the paper towels being used more frequently, which means more frequent maintenance. Because this is where the families are gonna go. This is where the diapers are gonna go. This is where, that kind of thing is gonna go, that may need to use extra towels and stuff. And doesn't mean we can't do both, but at least kind of offer that one option so we don't use as much.
I can speak to that. I was trying to go fast and I didn't get through all the details, but we are exploring the usage of both paper towels and hand dryer. And we are also looking at a mirror system that actually has it integrated into it, but we're also exploring the one that's coming out of the wall. So we're looking at all those right now, but we agree with you statistically, and the majority of people, like 60 to 70% of people prefer paper towel. We haven't thought about that because the airport currently uses a roll, which means with an automated roll, it only spits out like one at a time versus like a stack. So we're being very aware of the fact that we're trying not to get through a lot of paper towels and also at the same time offering a hand dryer option for other people to not even have to use it. So yeah.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, one feature that we didn't discuss that could be interesting for those courtyard restrooms is for people who have toddlers. You sometimes see in a restroom a little seat that folds out from the wall where you can strap in a toddler so that they're not running and opening the door and running outside while you're trying to use the restroom. So that could be an interesting feature for that section. And then I was also hoping that you might be able to just talk a little bit about the features that were considered, all the consideration that went into making these restrooms easier to clean and maintain, because there's a lot of interesting aspects of that we went over in the last meeting.
Yeah, so we are looking at a smart tech system that integrates into the some of the features such as the soap dispenser. We're looking at, there's a screen that we're looking at placing on the outside of each restroom that basically feeds data back to the maintenance at the airport that tells them the foot traffic that's going through the airport, or sorry, rather through the restroom. That also can indicate to them, hey, this many people, it's a peak time, maybe it's time to maintain that restroom and go in and check it out. So that smart system though can also detect like if the soap is low. So the system we're currently looking at will then send data back to the airport to be able to see what levels of usage they have for things like that nature, so they can also understand the quantity that they're utilizing and ordering for. So yeah, so we're definitely tying into a smart system with data driven tech that allows the airport to have better efficiencies and be able to maintain and operate those restrooms at a high level.
Jennifer, also, I think there's lots of things about keeping things off the floor, cleaning the floors, and the way that we've divided up the stalls and how they're supported. Say a few more words about that.
Sure, I mean, and then on top of the smart system, yeah, so I mean, we've tried to be really careful about integrating as much maintaining the best operations for maintenance staff. So one example, as Neil mentioned, is just like keeping everything off the floor under the sink so that you can mop the floor really easily in the concourse, the courtyard, all gender. We've even made it possible so they can just rinse down the whole thing at night to make it easier to clean. For instance, all of the finishes are hard materials so that it's easy, they last longer, they can be easily cleaned, they're very durable. And then the partitions even themselves are on pedestals and it's easier to wipe around or to mop around. And then, we've really thought through the details of all the partitions so that, they last longer and they're a little bit higher quality so that you're not replacing one 5 years down the road. That we're trying to get systems that will last for 20, 30 years, understanding that this is it. Like you really want to put the best forward at this time to get this quality of things to last. So hopefully that answers your hope of what we were touching on.
Yeah. Then there's also like a crawl space behind for maintenance.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I didn't go into details of time, but I behind every single restroom stall in Bono, as well as each and every single courtyard, is a chase that's large enough for someone to get into, and that way they can access each and every, say, toilet without having to, say, turn off the water for the whole system. They can just maintain or deal with the plumbing for one of the toilets. And it's also places we've been looking for extra storage because that's kind of tight at the restroom. So we have janitor closets that are in both restrooms in Bono and at the courtyard. So you have ample maintenance and operation space to do it. So yeah, the chase is actually quite it's large enough for people to go in, which is not always the case with the restrooms. So that's definitely something we've planned into your restrooms for efficiency.
Can we go to the public? Any public comments? Kevin, do anything else? Are we good?
No, just wanted to say that, these are the sort of modernizations that we're trying to accomplish here that improve our operational expenses if we want to provide a particular level of service. And obviously you can cut back on maintenance staff and have a very poor experience, but if you want to be able to provide a high level of cleanliness, then these facilities need to be designed accordingly. And right now, what we have is not keeping up with those needs.
Got it. Okay, let's go to public comments, please.
Anyone on Zoom wish to make a public comment, please raise your virtual Zoom hand. Anyone in the room? No public comment.
Great, thank you so much for your update. It's exciting. Sooner the better, please. Sooner the better, please. Sooner the better, please. All right. Thank you. Thank you. And Kevin and the operations team, thank you for your help with this. This is great. All right, Jeremy, updates on the escalators, please.
All right, I'll give you a quick update on the current elevators and escalators, and then I'll kind of turn it over to Ryan, and we also have Byron here from RFNH as well, but I think they put together a short presentation. So with our current elevators, we have 2 of the 3 working, and we are being told the 3rd one, which is in the Wexford terminal, will be inspected next week. So it could be back up to full operation on all of our elevators. And both escalators are working. So cross our fingers that they continue to chug along. The one other thing that I would like to note is that probably early December, 1st or 2nd week of December, we are going to be taking down the down escalator with some planned maintenance. So we're actually going to get into that escalator and replace the step track, which is what we have a pretty good feeling that was contributing to the noise, the bumping and thumping. So hopefully that, that'll be about a 5 or 6 day closure for that. We'll still have the up escalator, we'll still have the elevators in operation. We'll have Sierra out there helping with passengers and customers. But we hope that helps with some of that bumping and thumping noise that we got left on. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan and give a brief update.
So we have been working pretty continuously with our design consultants and vendors to get a contract awarded. We have made a selection, and I will turn it over to our consultant to lead the presentation of that.
All right, good evening, commissioners. I'm gonna stand up just on that tuck back here in the corner. My name's Byron Chavez. I'm with RSNH. I'm a project manager. We're the airport's on-call engineer, primarily doing project management on this assignment. And I also have Jeff Cena with BDA. He's on the Zoom call. He's really our escalator specialist that's really helping us through this process. So I'm gonna give you an update on where we're at. We'll just go through the procurement process that we did. We'll look at the bid comparisons. We'll go through what the technical team's recommendation for the vendor to move forward with the construction. And then we'll talk about the schedule and next steps. So next slide, please. All right, so as you all know, this was an emergency project. So we the city allowed for an accelerated procurement. And so we did go to direct solicitation to 4 different vendors, all that had proven in-place modification experience. So those 4 vendors were Kone, Otis, Schindler, and TK. So we had a site visit with the steps removed. Steps removed just meaning we opened up the escalator so that the bidders could get a good look at what they were actually going to be replacing. We did allow for a 1-week extension on the due date just because we wanted to make sure we got as many bids as we could. Ultimately, we did have 4 that we invited to bid. We got 2 bids that were received. That's Kone and Schindler. Just some of the challenges as far as, we solicited for, we got to very accelerated procurement. It was a very tight submittal timeline. Ultimately, we did get 2 that were acceptable, so that's good. It's better than 1. But we can talk about the others if anybody's interested why they may have not bid the project. So looking at the bid comparison, I know that's a little hard to see, but we have the cost for the actual install, and then we have a cost for a 5-year maintenance for both elevators and escalators. So we asked for both of those prices. Schindler was both lower than Kone on both the install and the 5-year maintenance. So 1.3 with Kone on the install, 1.1 with Schindler. The 5-year maintenance, there was a pretty significant delta there between the 2 bidders. So 790,000 with Kone, whereas Schindler was 253,000. So we did talk to the bidders. We did clarify, make sure that everything was accounted for. make sure that they understood what the requirements were, all of that, so we got that squared away. The total price between the two, Schindler's about 750,000 cheaper between the install and the 5-year maintenance. Next slide. So the technical team recommendation is to go with Schindler. Both are qualified vendors that have demonstrated experience, so there's really no concerns there. Obviously, Schindler's got the lower cost of installation, but more importantly, much more reasonable on their price for maintenance and service. The schedules that were submitted by the two bidders were very much in line with each other. They were within 2 weeks of each other, so the schedule wasn't really a huge factor. It was really driven by that cost because we knew everybody was qualified to perform the work. Next slide. So let's talk about the schedule. And so this is the baseline schedule. This is what Schindler submitted with their bid. So it's got an NTP of December of this year. And so there is about 5 to 6 months of engineering, fabrication, and then shipping. So the actual installation wouldn't begin until about May of next year. This baseline schedule is assuming that only one escalator is going down at a time. So you do one escalator, the other one's operable, and then you flip it. So the first one would go in May of next year, would get completed around August of next year, and then the completion of that second escalator is very end of next year, December of 26. We have talked to the bidders. We have asked them if there are any ways that we can reduce that schedule. If you could go to the next slide. A lot of them really what they say is if we can get both escalators at the same time, that's really where you're going to save the most time on the schedule. Can you go back one? I think so simultaneous replacements, meaning you're going to take both escalators out, you're going to replace them at the same time. You can probably shave about 3 to 4 months off of your schedule. But obviously there's going to be implications with doing something like that. Your guest experience is going to go down. Obviously, you're going to put a little bit more strain on your other services like your elevator. So all that would have to be taken into account if something like that was even entertained. The next slide is kind of a hybrid, not doing one escalator completely and then going to the next one. So even if we can overlap the escalators, whether it be a month or 2 months, that will also reduce the overall schedule for that. So we are also looking at incentives to provide to the contractor, just like a weekly, hey, if you complete a week earlier than what you're saying, you would get an X dollar amount for that. So we are looking at ways that we can reduce that schedule. I know that seems like a long time. There's just a lot of there's long lead items for this type of work, and it's just very hard to just try and throw money or resources at it. It kind of just starts being kind of what it shakes out at. And like I said, both bidders came to us with schedules that were within 2 weeks. So we didn't dictate that. That's just what they're showing. Jeff Cena, who's with VDA, definitely wasn't surprised by what they submitted. That just seems to be the industry norm right now. So next slide. All right. So next steps, negotiations in progress with Schindler. A notice of intent to award has been sent out to them. So we are moving forward with those negotiations. Looking at setting those early completion incentives and what we can do there. Obviously, we're looking at the viability of overlapping the escalators to reduce that schedule. So the agreement's in process. Ratification will go to City Council on December 10th, but the NTP will not wait for that ratification. And I'll take any questions.
Questions, comments?
So, I have a question about the difference between the two bids, and especially with regard to maintenance. What did you look into that at all to see how there's $500,000 difference in the two pieces of the maintenance?
Yeah, and Jeff, I don't know if you're on. Can you say something if you can hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
So, yeah, we can hear you. So the question, and I know you talked to the vendors. about why there is such a delta between those maintenance costs and, what feedback you have from those conversations that you had with the vendors?
So I contacted both vendors and asked, you know, were they confident in what they provided as far as the maintenance price, and how did they, you know, determine, you know, what it was, right? Because there's such a big delta, but obviously I'm not telling each one of them that that's the case. And Kone just felt like, you know, that's what it takes for us to go ahead and to perform to your document and what you've asked, which is an extremely high number. Schindler came back and said, yes, we've reviewed your document, and we think that we can get it done for this price. And so I took it more that, you know, Kone was looking for, we'll throw a high number out there to cover, you know, all of our costs. And if they go for it, then it's a win for us. And if they don't, that's okay. So I don't know that they were as wanting to be as competitive on the overall project as Schindler was. And I think that's you see that in the overall maintenance price. From the elevator standpoint, both of them were within $25 of each other, I think. So, you know, Kone's price for each elevator and Schindler's price for each elevator were virtually identical. It was really with regards to the two escalators.
Go ahead, go. When we first started talking, one of the recent meetings when we were talking about the escalators, it was pointed out that these are two desert outdoor escalators. So it's not the same thing as going up the escalator at Macy's. Right. They age differently, have different requirements for maintenance, might break down more quickly. Do you have any idea, was it specified in the proposals? Do you think that maybe the difference in price is because somebody is saying, oh no, we've got to maintain an outdoor desert escalator, versus the other person who's saying, oh, it's just an escalator at Macy's? In other words, what I'm wondering is there a difference between what they think they're doing for us?
Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think so, because both companies came out and obviously walked the property and viewed the units. So, you know, it's not that Schindler is not aware of the fact of where these escalators are located. They came and looked at them. So I don't think that that's necessarily the case. And both companies are bidding on the same document with the same requirements for a number of hours per month, and what's required quarterly, you know, every 6 months, and yearly to maintain these units. So that was explicitly laid out in our document that both companies had and bid to. So there shouldn't be any misunderstanding about where these escalators are located and what it takes to take care of them.
And so I assume before you put out the bids that you had an idea what the annual maintenance cost would be on these escalators?
Yeah, Jeff definitely had, you know, rough ideas of numbers in his head.
So did the winning bidder be above that number?
I think for me that they're yeah, I heard it. I think they're slightly lower than what I was anticipating, where Kone is 3 times what I was looking at. I was looking at anywhere from 1,800 to 2,000 is what me and my boss had talked about, and internally what we kind of thought what it would take to do maintenance, based on the hours that we were prescribing and the work that's involved. Schindler's just under that number, where Kone is, I mean, they're more than $6,000 a month per escalator. And we're asking them to be there 5 hours a month per escalator. So 10 hours a month to take care of the escalators, and they want more than $12,000. That's an exceptionally high. That you know, their cost for mechanics is not anywhere close to what that would be. So there's a lot of fluff in that for parts and for other items that I think is just not warranted for them being brand new.
So this contract lasts for a while. We will have inflation. I mean, that's just part of life. But we don't know
Correct.
how much. What happens if their costs substantially exceed the bid price?
So there's a
i.e.
cap in the documents that we gave. Yeah, I'm sorry. There's a cap in the documents that we gave them that their increase per year is I think it's 3 to 5% is the maximum. So if after year one that was the case, it's not like they can say, well, there's a 25% increase in service. The document doesn't allow it.
So I've heard of Conan. They were installed in the light rail stations in Seattle, the outdoor light, and they were down all the time. I mean, honestly, I've never heard of these other. Did you go and find other places that they're installed and working and?
Yeah, and that's, Jeff, you can probably speak to that. Yeah, we did do our due diligence, make sure that not only the company had experience, but experience in similar applications and similar locations. Just because one crew did it somewhere over here doesn't mean that that's going to be the same crew that does here. So Jeff, I don't know if you want to elaborate on all of that. I mean, this is what Jeff does day in, day out. He knows these contractors, he knows kind of who's who, where people are, that kind of stuff. But Jeff, if you want to elaborate on just the qualifications
Yeah.
of the bidders.
Yeah, so both Schindler and Kone have done a number of Intrust mods as companies for us at VDA, for me locally here, and for my boss. So we actually have projects in Hawaii right now that they're doing. Lake Tahoe, they did some, Schindler did some Intrust mods for us. We have some that Macy's in California that they're doing for us. Above that, our LA office. Two of the people that are in that LA office are actually former Schindler employees who specifically worked in the escalator division, which would be my boss, Misty, and another gentleman that works in there. And so they're very, very familiar with units that were installed by Schindler throughout LA and in also Palm Springs. They gave us references and they gave us items, but both companies. Jobs that they had done work. And so we feel very comfortable about Schindler's product and Kone's product and their ability to go ahead and install. We've also requested that we have kind of like a review of who would be doing the work and validation that it's not someone that hasn't done this extensively and that they're very comfortable with what needs to happen with installing them. So we've been assured by both companies that would be the case, that the people brought in would be their best people to go ahead and do both jobs. And we'll validate that moving forward.
Thank you for that. So I want to indulge all of you in a discussion around the timing of this thing. We go back to doing both of the escalators at the same time. Did that take
one more
right there? Okay, so I want to explore this option and get your reaction to this. So if we stretch it out and do one at a time, we don't get it done to the end of the year. And that means why one is under construction. I assume the one that is under construction is going up, right? And so then people still got to come down either through the elevator or on the stairs. When you look at the timing of this thing, May through August, wouldn't we be better to do the pardon our dust and just do them both at the same time? We have elevators that work, brand new elevators that work. We got people like we had this summer with red shirts on, can schlep people up and down those stairs if they show up and they're trained and they do it. And I think you said that the most efficient way to do this from the contractor's point of view is do them both at the same time. Considering that this is our summer season, our slower season, I know nothing is slow, but it's hot and whatever. Wouldn't we better to get this done, especially if there's efficiencies in terms of the installation? And, you know, marketing folks, we use your magic to just pardon our dust and communicate this to our guests. We're trying to get this done in our slow season and not stretch this out to the end of the year. wouldn't we be better off just to do it and get it done? And I hear the thing about customer experience, but that customer experience going all year long doing this project, I don't think helps us. I'd rather apologize to people, make sure the red shirts are there, trained and schlepping people up and down and getting it done, especially if there's efficiencies in the installation. What do you think?
Totally agree. Yeah. So I would agree with you. I wouldn't even apologize for it. I would instead use it as a marketing tool for the expansion of the airport. This is positive, not negative. And it's cost savings, it's efficiency, it's quality. They make those portable escalator type things, or little elevators, you can rent those things and put them out there. You can have a concierge that can take 5, 6 people in and put them up to the second level or elevator, whatever you want to do. But I agree. I mean, there's this feeling of customer experience, guest experience out here that people have at the Palm Springs Airport. But in addition to that, they hear the rumblings, they see the rumblings, right? So here's this dust pile that's moving, doing all this stuff, and all of a sudden Jake and his dog come running through the dust and go, "Welcome to our great expansion." And I mean, I think that's really the realistic aspect of it, don't apologize for it. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I was at Agua Caliente, and they had some elevators that were, or the hospital the other day. I was at the hospital the other day visiting a friend of mine at Desert Regional. They had elevators that were blocked. I don't care, there was one over here, but we know what they're doing. They're doing upgrades and stuff, right? No one's complaining about it. We have a human aspect of understanding that upgrades and things are there. I think where your complaints are gonna come in is right there where it says September 26th. That's when they're gonna start kicking in.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's worth the time to just do it all together in that sense. And move forward with it. There's other little methods that we can do to accommodate people to get them up and down if we need to in that brief 3-4 month time period.
And we lived with that for how many months, Karen? With the red shirts, for months when these things were down. So there's a paradigm that we have now. Do they need to be trained? Do they need to show up? Do they need to make sure they're not on their phones? I mean, all of that has to happen. But we've done it before. And I do agree, if we have let Jake loose to spin this thing and make it a part of our positive contribution, I think come September, it's a lot easier to have the whole thing done.
Well, and then bathrooms, when are you thinking of those kicking in?
Estimate spring of 2027.
27.
Okay.
Other comments? Sam, what do you think?
I think you're making a great point, Kevin. One of the things that I would look at is the timeline. Literally, if it's summertime, 2 thumbs up, no big deal. But if we're talking about doing what Caltrans did, which was crush North Palm Canyon in the middle of BNB Paribas tennis and just wreck the guest experience for numerous hotels by the construction project was a nightmare. So if there's a way for us to really push this timeline and say, this is it, that would be fantastic.
Well, that's up to you guys, right? So if we're proposing this timeline and Schindler has said, yes, they've said, this is more efficient way to do it. And perhaps we tack on some financial incentives so they can get it done by the 1st of August. I'm making it up. But let's not let go of the financial stuff, but to say we want them both done at the same time, and it's got to be done by the September. And maybe there's negative consequences too. I know it's harder to put into a contract, but if it's not done by the 1st of October, they lose money. Our hope would be pay them 20% more and get it done by August 15th and get it all done now. Yeah, is that possible? Dan?
Question for Harry. There are some airports in the US and a lot more in Europe where the aircraft is at a stand somewhere else. Passengers wait at the gate, but then are actually transported out to the aircraft in a bus, and then they use like jetway stairs. Same way that we do right now at Agua Caliente. Is there, maybe this way lies madness, but is there an option to do that with Bono so that instead of going up to the departure level, people can do it from the ground level and board that way using the aircraft stairs?
So there are operational things that we can do with, instead of implementing a busing operation, what I'd probably more likely do is move all the aircraft down to some Agua Caliente comes, so the ACC is at kind of huge.
That period of involved that won't done.
So that isn't totally unreasonable.
Just move all the planes out there. It's an interesting idea. It's a really interesting idea.
You need a motion, Bill?
Drew, Commissioner McKee, you had a question?
So is there a cost savings by doing both at the same time? Theoretically?
Jeff, I'll have you weigh in on this. We didn't ask them to price it with both of them at the same time, but Jeff, do you have any insight on that as far as cost savings if we let them do both escalators at the same time?
Yeah, we certainly can ask them if there's a price difference if by doing them both. I mean, they did give us a schedule to do them both, which was what we had asked for in follow-up conversations, but price wasn't really something that was talked about. We certainly can dangle, like which was discussed, the incentive. And it is more efficient for them to do them that way because both crews will be working together. We can talk about, the overtime potentially an incentive if they get it done sooner. And ask the question, if we let you do both of them at the same time, is there a price difference or a price break?
Keep in mind, I think the last thing, Jeremy, you told us was a forecast of $3 million. So we're kind of in the middle of that right now. So if there was a 20% incentive to get this project done sooner, I'd still say do it. With a hard deadline, Sam, with a hard deadline.
And can they work 24/7 or at least 24/5?
Jeff, weigh in on, I would initially say no, but I think Jeff's gonna give a better answer than me. Jeff, 24/7.
Traditionally we don't see 24/7. It's probably 10-hour shifts. It would be two crews. So one crew is working on, say, the up and the other crew is working on the down. The one foreman would be overseeing both of them, and there would be levels of efficiency because they're doing both escalators at the same time, and something you find in one and the fix you immediately are implementing on the other, and you don't have to worry about it, months down the road. When we did the ones in Tahoe, they did both of those at the same time, and they beat their schedule on that particular project. But it was 10-hour shifts and usually 5 days a week.
Before we go on, can we take a step back? And I've just got to say, in my 17 years of being involved with this ridiculous pair of escalators, this is the best news I've ever heard. There's a lot of details about this, but I mean, I just want to congratulate Harry and the whole team. You found the right people to be managing this project, obvious. And everything I've heard tonight just signals that this is good. This is going to be very good. And everything is reasonable with the pricing of this, the schedule, the timeline. Even there's a little mention that was up there on the first slide, was timeline that kind of was overlooked. Notice to proceed will not be delayed waiting for council approval. That's first, I've never, but great, so.
Thank you for that.
I mean, it's like for the first time, I feel like you can breathe, right? That council feels the same way. It's like, okay, you finally can be assured that you've got people involved with this, they know what they're doing. And that at the end of the whole project, it's going to be done right.
Curious, and they are very, very interested. And Jeremy, isn't that nice to hear?
And I agree with the group of senior.
So looking for a motion. Can we move to a motion on this?
Yes, can we I make a motion that we do both up and down at the same time?
Second. Do we have any questions from the public before we go to motion on Zoom? Anyone in the room wish to make a public comment? No public comment.
Let's do voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Go forward and get them done. Thank you. This is very good. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. All right. Now let's talk about parodies. All right, Victoria.
All right, good evening again. So we actually have some positive feedback that we wanted to share. That we worked with State receives all of the customer feedback. And so we wanted to just, shed the light on what are passengers actually saying about Heritage right now. And even in the time that we started collecting feedback, so this is since 2024 through 2025. We do have lots of positives in there. And we do get some negative comments, but in most part, we do have good feedback about the new concessions programs that we have in place at PSP. So that it should be in your packet. So and it's also on the screen there. But one of the big things that we're talking about tonight is Heritage hours of operation, which has been the topic over the last maybe 2 or 3 commission meetings that we've had. And so, one thing I think would be really important to explain to our commissioners tonight and to the public is that, we have our food and beverage operations are all past the security. So, as a traveler, you're coming in, and you have to go through security, you have to get screened before you go through and get onto the secured side. That's why it's called the sterile side, where everybody has been screened by TSA. So you are, you as a passenger are safe. The same thing applies for our employees of the food and beverage location. So TSA opens about 4:15, and this fluctuates throughout the year, right? During season and not in season. And so they start screening employees, as fast as they can get employees screened, maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes. So think about it. So 4:15 to potentially 4:30. An employee can get to their location to open up the store at 4:30, but you still have to remember, your food prep. You don't just get in there and voila, everything's made and everything's cut up and everything's prepped for the day. And I don't know, I haven't worked in food operations, so if somebody has experience in that, can talk about preparation for food operations, please do feel free to jump in here. But you have to come in, you have to, warm up, I don't know, maybe warm up the ovens. I don't know, I have to warm up the oven at my house before I put the turkey in. And you have to get everything prepared and ready. So for our operations that we have at like Coachella Valley Coffee, you're serving your coffee. We open that up at 4:30. So, there's employees that are getting there immediately after they're screened from TSA. And TSA, the hours are regulated. It's not something that we're able to say, hey, TSA, I want you to open up the hours. We can work with them, but they also have to work with the FSD that's down in LA. And if we need more people coming in at an earlier time, that's something that's out of our control, but still something that we work with TSA on. So for the month of November, our flight operations, first flight out is at 5, departing from the Agua Caliente concourse at 5:20 in the morning. So TSA opens up at 4:15. You get over to 9 Cities. 9 Cities opens up at 9:30. Hopefully they're able to provide food, warm food, but that's really going to be a little bit of a stretch. They're going to be trying to get that operation up and ready and open and lights on and ready to serve food. And so if you have your first flight out at 5:20, everybody's typically boarding about 4:50. So from 4:30 to 4:50 is the time frame. So the 20 minutes that somebody can actually grab some food and eat some food, maybe a muffin, maybe some coffee, maybe something quick to go before they jump onto their flight, which their flight is right there. It's not like they're walking a country mile to get to their gate. But so, we have been working with Heritage on their hours of operation. And we have to take into consideration the times that TSA opens to the time our first flight departs. Now, Trio, we have grab and go open at 5 a.m. So first departure out of the Bono concourse is at 5:30 in the morning. So people are jumping onto the plane, they're boarding on the plane at 5 a.m. So, the grab and go, if they get there and we have that open as soon as we can, and they're able to grab and go, and then, they'll be serving, the restaurant is open at 6 a.m. until, 7 p.m. or depending on the season, last flight. So our operations have been staggering, opening depending on the number of people that we have in the airport. We've also been looking at operations as it relates to how many passengers are coming in during the hours. So we anticipate people are getting to our airport an hour and a half to 2 hours before their flight departure. And so we have been providing that data to Parity so that they're aware of how many people are coming through the airport based off of a 78% load factor for the flights that are going out. So we've been working with them on that. Big and Plum, you will notice that Big and Plum currently is not open. We have had currently the airport's operating on a generator. So I don't know if you've noticed that, but good thing that you haven't, because we're currently operating on a generator. The only thing is that Big and Plum did not get hooked onto that system. And so they're currently not open, but once we get switched back over, that will open up and that will be another option for our passengers to grab some fresh food there. Does anybody have any questions about any of the hours of operation?
Please.
Okay. Victoria, thank you for all the information, and I think it's important, you made a really important point. This doesn't seem to be a Parity's problem, it seems to be more of a TSA problem. Have we had discussions with the FSD in Los Angeles? It seems absolutely ridiculous to me that they're not open earlier when we have people boarding flights at 4:50 and they're not showing up to open screening checkpoint until 4:15. That just seems absolutely ridiculous.
So TSA, the way they allocate their personnel is based on the level of passenger screening, level of flight activity, and the level of baggage. So they always try to put enough personnel to go around, and those personnel schedule based on that activity. That schedule is defined by not only by the FSD, but also by headquarters TSA. So it's not an easy lift to get the schedule. They have talked to credit local TSA. They have accepted our feedback on some things, trying to be flexible where they can. But where you take from some, where you take or give to something, you take away from something else. And so I think that's kind of where they're sort of.
Do they have the ability to open a single screening checkpoint just for employees earlier with 2 people or whatever the minimum would be for TSA? Is that something they could look at to get employees through maybe half hour earlier?
Yeah, so again, where you give something, you take from something else. We have had, in fact, I think we implemented that at one point. When we implemented that, it took away the baggage handling system. So we have a problem on this type of, but
I know it's not easy on the end of that government shutdown to have the discussions. Is there?
yeah, that's.
Commissioner Valdez.
How many flights do we have that land after 7 p.m.? Do we know?
I'm sorry, that.
How many flights land after 7 p.m.?
After 7 p.m. this time of year?
During season, obviously not during the summer, but during season.
Several.
Sometimes they'll be at like midnight.
Yeah, most flights are at midnight. Quite a few. Last departure typically between 7:30 or 8 p.m. and arrival.
What's your question?
Yeah, my question, and I did have some friends who came from Seattle one night and they got in at like 8 o'clock at night and they said there was nothing open. There was no restaurants really available for them. So I know we're looking at.
Did they arrive?
Yes.
Did they arrive into Palm Springs?
Yes.
Yeah, so typically, go ahead, Sam.
Oh, no, sorry, typically, the arriving passengers, they usually make the back and get out, so airports don't really make a lot of money when the rest of open just for arriving flights. People just don't, they want to eat flights, like you get in, just get there, you can get out, well, that's stick around the airport just to eat when they're already.
Does anybody here stop and get food when they arrive into an airport? Oh, it's typically the people that are leaving, so the people that are getting onto a plane, they're waiting, they're swelling. And they're getting onto the plane and you know, before they get onto the plane, that's when they're grabbing a bite to eat or
There's 10 flights that arrive
okay.
after it. We're talking about 10 flights.
Yeah.
But what's the expectation? Dan, did you say the last flight, outbound flight is 7:30?
Typically 7:30, 8 o'clock, we have, well, now the check booth at the right eye, yes, about 27:30 and 8. Take her somewhere on there, depending on fun.
Is that right? For these guys, our last departure is 7:30 today, so. Minimum, they would be expected to be open until 8:15, 45 minutes after the last flight leaves. 30 minutes. Okay.
And if that flight's delayed, they would stay into that.
Got it, okay. Okay, tell us about where we are with the building on the next
Sure,
page,
yeah,
please.
next slide shows, so this is some operational, capital that we've been working on. Actually, Las Pazuelas, the outside bar, if y'all recall, we closed that down, to do some additional, proofing of the walls so that there's not any, extra friends that are coming through the walls and getting into, the food area there. So, we closed that down over the summer and, they have completed the work there. Actually, Mariana, do you mind just showing some photos here? So this is Las Pazuelas, and what we did was enclose some areas of Las Pazuelas. So I'm actually gonna turn this over to Brian and have, maybe Brian can speak on some of these. It's not showing.
That's great, keep going.
Yeah, so, we got the permits, and I think we just need to do one final inspection to actually open this up right now. So, on the side there, you could see that they added some foam in between, the building and the wall there so that nothing can crawl through. And then there's another photo that has, glass that we added up onto, or they added up to the top, so. So there's some enclosures that we did to make this, not, easily accessible for any kind of outside creatures to get into the inside there. So we just need a final inspection and then we'll have that, open up really soon. Vino Bolo outside bar, that's the one that as soon as you get out of TSA after you've already came in, and did your clearance, Vino Bolo's directly in front of TSA screening, and the outside bar is still pending some building permit. So that's through the city of Palm Springs. So even though we work very closely with the city, we still have to go through the permitting process and be in line with everybody else. So that is still hopefully something that's gonna happen soon. And then Cactus to Clouds, we just, updates on that. We cleaned the awning, and we are working with our Heritage partners as well as our wildlife specialist on there's birds. And I Commissioner Pai at one point in time, she's like, I'm sure those birds are gonna come out. And I was like, hey, Commissioner Pai, no, they're not. They're not gonna come out. They are out right now, and they are being a nuisance to our passengers right now. So we're working with our wildlife biologist to help us with getting, to mitigate the birds there. And then the one thing that we have been waiting for is Moon Colony Canteen. And that's the last item that's gonna be installed and built for our concessions program. And that is expected to start construction in May of 2026 to be open for season. So.
Questions or comments? So, thank you, Victoria. We continue to get feedback that the operating hours are incredibly inconsistent with Heritage. And I know that there's a lot of other discussions that are taking place to try to improve that, let alone opening these facilities that we've been working on for years. So here's my ask. I think it would be helpful for us to track when they're open, when they're closed. Because we're getting feedback, as evidenced by a comment that one of our public people sent to us today about how inconsistent these operating hours continue to be. So I'd like to ask that the commission be provided an update by venue of when these are opening and when they're closing. So we can get the real story here, because we continue to get feedback that it's inconsistent. I was able to get coffee at 6 in the morning, but Vino Bolo was closed. They don't have a tea. There's just a lot of inconsistency still. And I know that there are other discussions in trying to address these issues, but is that something that's reasonable to ask? So that we can have for our next commission meeting, the real time schedule. I don't know, between, the information you're providing them about the loads and how many passengers are coming through and the information they're coming back in terms of how they're staffing these venues. We know what the promises were, 45 minutes before, 30 minutes after, and it's not happening. So can we get that information, that data, so then we can look and we can assess whether, what we're hearing from the public is real or it's Memorex. Is that possible?
That's a reasonable ask.
All right. And then I know we're continuing to work with them on all these other issues. We'll continue to follow up at every one of our meetings to see if there's improvements, not only about the hours, but also the service. And then we'll all know, what's really happening here or not. That's the ask.
Fair.
All right. Cool. Any other comments on this?
Anyone on Zoom from the public wish to make a public comment, please raise your virtual Zoom hand. Anyone in the room? No public comments.
All right. Thank you for that. Let's move forward. Harmon?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll utilizing the capital movement on the project. I think I'll skip the first one, which is the escalator. So we all have some good detailed information from Byron. So we are on track on the towards escalator. We'll be working at the same time. My second project is the Nitrogen project, which is our shade structure. So we are actually working with a design firm to get a cost proposal. The Nitrogen fund that has been allocated to this project is now $700,000. So we are actually designed to budget. So we will be getting that cost proposal in the next 2 to 3 weeks. That will be reviewing it. We are expecting if everything looks good to this project be done by either end of first quarter of 26 or early quarter of 2026 itself. Next is the baggage handling. We actually issued a notice to proceed to our general contractor. We are actually finalizing the pre-construction meeting and also we are finalizing the mobilization and the laydown area. So we gave them some options around the airport where we can do their laydown. It's currently a 3-year project, so we are working on the details of all the laydown area, how it can be secured. So those details are being worked on. We're expecting that mobilization can happen 3rd week of December, and we'll bring the commission up to date on that project. My next project is the restroom renovation design phase. Gansler team did an awesome job and already provided all the details, so I'll skip this also. Next one is our EV trucks and some chargers. So our EV trucks are actually on the production line at the Ford facility. We will have a better estimated arrival date once they are ready to be shipped. We are expecting these to be arrived at about around January of next year, which is very conventional timeline for these kind of trucks since they are being produced right now or they are on the production line. So also in the interim, we are working with our fleets to have these trucks make ready. By that I mean that we are working on getting the lights that are needed for the airside, the radio that is needed. So that work is being done in the interim right now. And in the next meeting, I'll provide some more updates. Next project is the conference room. So we are actually finalizing the final project part of that. You could say the carpet was installed yesterday. Today, the trades such as the ceiling light, the ceiling tiles, and the final draperies and doors are being worked on. We are expecting this work to be completed by next week. Then we'll give about a week of programming for our IT team to be ready for all the audio visual and some other IT functions of it. So we are expecting this conference room to be ready by December 10th. December 8th is when all our furniture is coming and being installed. So we are keeping a close eye on the conference. So we're hoping that the next meeting will be in a state-of-the-art conference room at our airport. And that last project is our EV chargers, the EV chargers that we are putting at Lot D. So yesterday the Edison came and installed the meter. After the meter, it takes about 2 months for Edison to energize and give us certification that it is ready for us to install the EV chargers. Good news is that the lot is open right now for all the parking. During this energized phase, next 2 months, we don't have to close the lot. They will energize it without even any interference to the public or any traffic. Once they energize the lot by mid-January, then our general contractor, which we already have procured, will come to install the chargers. We will work with that general contractor, if possible, not to put fence again in the lot. If we have to put fence, we'll specifically put the fence that minimum disturbance has been done. We'll come back to the commission, but our plan is right now we are in the waiting
phase of Edison to energize that. That is gonna be done by mid-January, we're expecting. At this time, these are my update. Any questions that you answered?
Questions? We're good? Carmen, thank you. We appreciate it.
Anyone from the public on Zoom, please raise your virtual Zoom hand. Anyone in the room wish to make a public comment? No public comment.
Victoria, we're looking at what you're taking to city council for here in item 7H.
So currently, I know we had mentioned earlier, and we have it on here, that we were gonna take the emergency repairs for the escalator to city council. But we caught in on December 10th, but we're most likely gonna move that to the second meeting in January. However, we are taking the hangar 18 outfall repair project. So what that is, when we had the hurricane a couple of years ago, too much water came through one of the areas along, I think it's Civic Lane, adjacent to Desert Oasis Healthcare. And so it pretty much washed out a bunch of our outfalls there, damaged a bunch of, concrete and fencing. And so, we're gonna be taking that to city council to award to a company managed so that they can actually do those repairs. And that is all the items that are going to council.
So with the decision or recommendation we made today about the escalators, why would we wait? Is there some other information you guys need to prepare that we couldn't get ready for this December 10th council meeting to move this forward?
There's still a contract negotiation to be done, but that doesn't inhibit our ability to proceed with it, so we're gonna take it retroactive.
Okay. So we're not gonna lose a minute.
No.
They're gonna be very, to your point, they're gonna be very happy to hear about this, so I don't wanna lose a minute. All right. Okay, good. The executive director's report. Harry, I do have questions. Give us up to date on where you are with 6 car rental.
Yeah, so, this past week, the city council approved, the entry of 6 program into a program that would give us a 4th rental car operator, in addition to advise for Davis. Backstory to this, a couple of months ago, Cedis came to the airport, said they wanted to come into the airport. We immediately, went to our attorneys and asked the question, can it be done? They said yes, and then it got stuck in a legal loop for about 2 or 3 months. While we went back and forth between now and 6, but the Ruby had come with our companies to operate at the airport. To try and get everybody on the same page about what needs to happen. The real issue appears to be that the rental car companies wanted us to wait until we built a contract to go in and trend. And we don't think from strategic or customer service perspective that that's the way it goes. So we had some discussions not only with Jessica Krieger, Jeremy who's on the call today, but also with Catlin, who's our aviation attorneys. They advised us that we need to get our rights moving forward. We had some additional discussions with city leadership, and that resulted in the Real Estate Council for 6 to enter last week. The current trajectory now is they intend to do their infrastructure build out on December 1st and 2nd, and then go live as an operator on December 10th.
Fast. How do they do that? That fast?
They're not government.
Sorry, yes. I don't know if those of you who travel, I'm really surprised they came to Palm Springs. And I'm pleasantly surprised. They have the reputation for having extraordinary customer service and really interesting car offerings. So adding them, as much as I know our existing partners are concerned about the competition, adding them to our offering here is a real plus. It's a real plus. So I was thrilled to see that it moved that fast and that they're going to be up and running in just days. That's amazing. So good on that. Just also an update on the land purchases, please.
Yeah, so we briefed at the last commission meeting that we, or we mentioned, we're gonna brief. That we were looking at some land acquisition, both for an administration building as well as for property adjacent to the airport that we should convert to, rental car usage for the facility. We are currently actively negotiating on the administration building. We did make an offer on the Terry property.
that resulted in the seller finding that offer was above fair market value. They had appraised. And so our intent is to go back to council, ask the question on how you want us to proceed from there. In the interim, what we're doing is we're working on contingency plans in the event that we are not able to acquire that property adjacent to the airport, and what it looks like in a different scenario where real operations are operating from the north end instead of the south end, and what they may look like.
Questions on the executive report, please.
Harry, do you have any idea yet? How the administration's, well, I guess it's not called affirmative action changes, but their requirement that the airport reevaluate all of our contractors and what have you to be sure that they are disadvantaged, and require them to tell a story about how they're disadvantaged, whether that's going to impact our employees, whether that's going to impact how will it impact some of our contractors?
I so love this question only because I've spoken about it at least 3 times over the last 5 days. It will impact the way that we do business. I will say that there have been steps under both administrations, Biden administration and Trump administration, to make adjustments to how inclusion is treated in the aviation space. We're also waiting on a number of issues to roll up through the judicial system to figure out what outcomes may come of those before we make any concrete decisions. That said, there's a lot of uncertainty out there with our vendors and our partners about what can we do, what can't we do. It seems like every day airports across the nation are getting new information either from DOT or FAA or from the White House itself about this is the policy now, and so we're scrambling to try and figure it out. And we're taking that stride and working both with our aviation attorneys and with Best and Krieger to really try and take those on a case-by-case situation and apply them where we can, and then make new policy or just policy where we need to.
Does, at least as far as you know now, do the changes that have been made so far mean that you have to go back and look at already signed contracts? Or would it just be only when they get renewed?
So we got clarifying information that we do not need to look at currently signed contracts. However, anything that is currently under procurement or new procurement, we would have to look at that.
Other questions? Okay, thank you, Harry. Commissioners, comments, requests, reports? Anything else? Commissioners, going once, going twice? Staff, anything else? We good? Our next meeting is the 16th. It's our strategic planning meeting. We're working with the staff to make sure this is quality time for all of us to look at the priorities for the airport, look at accountability, who's running what, and also give our input on some of these priorities. So it starts at 9 AM and it's going to be in our brand new conference room. So look forward to that on the 16th.
Kevin, do you want us to send Tanya a list of what type of drinks and snacks you probably like to do?
I think that'd be a great idea. A great idea.
More information will be coming on lunch. I'll let you know.
I'm not gonna make a parodies joke. I'm not gonna do that. All right. Thank you, staff, for all your preparation. Thank you, commissioners, for all your hard work. See you in December.
Enjoy.
Thank you.